are now plugged into Hooked on Science with Bruce and Tom Collins.
And we're live.
All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special episode of Hooked on Sonics. I am one of your two hosts, Bruce. And over there, as always, my brother from another mother, the Tone Capone. We are super excited and honored to have on the show some very special guests to talk about their first new studio album in about 23 years. And also celebrating 50 years of rocking people's faces off. We've got live from the land where every day is Saturday, Andy Sheeranoff, Ross the Boss, Albert Bouchard, and Keith Roth. Ladies and gentlemen, the Dictators.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys.
How you doing, man?
All
Thanks
right.
for having
Guys,
I'm
Good to be
sorry, guys. I'm sorry, but I'm here at the batting cage. I'm gonna have to be up and down
Oh, you're
during
fine.
this. I gotta go sit somebody up. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You're
Whenever
fine.
you have to go, we'll talk about you.
All right, talk badly.
can we at least get your uncle?
Is Lou stopping by?
Yeah, Ross has his uncle Lou, right? And we'll get into that later.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess, let's get right into it. This brand new album, self-titled album, first album in 23 years. Wow, what an incredible album, top to bottom. I guess, kind of go into the whole process of, how did this album, why after 23 years? And, I know there were some pitfalls along the way, and yeah, whoever wants to start first, I guess.
Can we mute Ross's mic?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's dealing with customers right now.
Yeah, we
I got
should
it.
maybe mention Ross
Okay, great.
owns a batting cage, and he's responsible for taking care of it. So obviously he will be up and down while doing this. All right, but I will answer the question.
Okay.
How do we get this rolling?
Yeah.
Back in November 2019, Ross calls up myself and Scott Kempner, the other original Dictator, and says, let's get the original band back together. It was the last thing I ever thought about doing it, and I didn't want to do it. Scott wanted to do it. He convinced me to do it. I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. If I don't like it, I'll drop out. Of course, and I said, let's get rolling in January 2020. February 2020, we have a COVID. So we're all stuck in our homes, and it gave us something to do. And, well, actually, I should mention that we decided to add Albert to the band. He was a gracious and a fantastic addition.
Yes.
And also Scott had some illnesses. He passed away, so we had to replace him. So Albert recommended Keith. Keith has been a great addition.
We all said yes immediately.
You talking to me, Ross? Who are you talking
No,
to?
I'm just saying about Keith.
What? You like him?
He's all right.
You're a singer.
Yeah.
And you can play guitar.
I have
So anyway, we've been recording, slowly putting out singles, been touring. We did East Coast, West Coast tours with The Damned, been to Europe, been to Canada, and eventually got a record out. Very difficult when everybody lives in different parts of the world to record an album, but we stuck to it, and we made a record that we're all very proud of.
Now, did you guys go into the studio together to record the album, or did you guys kind of piece the components and send them back and forth between each other, like I know some people do?
90% sending it back and forth. We did one session which we recorded 4 songs, and 2 of those songs made the final cut of the album. But we did after the tracking, we had trading files back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah, but you know what? Let me tell you something. We're a live band, and we went into the fucking studio and we belted these songs out. We're killers, man. That's what we want. We want a live sound. one of the live Dictators sound 2024, and that's what we got.
Yeah. I would say the first 4 songs that we did were kind of like, it was a setback that Scott couldn't join us, that he got sick. And so we didn't know. So that took like a year before we got Keith. And then,
Yeah.
and so we
Over a
had those
year.
4 songs and then we did some more stuff, here and there. We recorded the basic tracks in different places. I think, oh yeah, that's what we did for Have a Nice Day and, maybe it was just that.
Transmaniacon.
Oh yeah, Transmaniacon was I recorded it at my house and I did all the parts and then I had Keith come over one day and he played a rhythm guitar part. And then Ross came over one day, or no, I went to the Cage. That's right, with my this laptop. With this laptop, and we recorded all of Ross's parts. And then Keith came over to my house. We were recording the Thank You and Have a Nice Day vocals.
Right.
He spent like 4 hours doing those vocals. And then Andy went back to Woodstock. And I said, hey, Keith, can you put a vocal down on this Transmaniacon track? And he goes, oh, I'd love to. One take.
Nice.
One take, and he nailed it. And he's like, "Oh no, let me do another one." I said, "Okay, if you have to, And so I let him do another one. I said, "No, that first one that's it, man. That's you nailed it first try." So then I sent the files to Andy, and he put his bass. So that was all separate, and I put it on my record, and these guys heard it and were like, "Whoa." That's really great. Maybe can we put it on the Dictators record? I sure. And he said, but there's one thing I don't like. You took off the MC. Can we put that back? I said, yeah, okay. So we all got together, all 4 of us, and one day when we were doing vocals, and we just did the MCs, and that was it. And I think we put a motorcycle at the beginning, and that was the only difference, basically. Same track.
We'll remix it. Also, Ed Stage will remix it.
That's right. Remix.
I showed you where they were, buddy bar.
Then the last 6 songs we did the same way.
I pointed them out. You go right in.
We came. Yeah.
I love it.
Hey,
You
Ross.
you can't buy this shit. I fucking love it.
We came to my house here and we played all the tracks live, and I recorded them on my thing, and then we went. Then Andy redid his bass, and Keith. We didn't do live vocals because I only have 3 tracks. So Keith did his vocals and his guitar, and Ross did his leads, and that's how we did the last 6 songs. So they were essentially live tracks that were,
augmented,
later. So yeah, but it's live. The Dictators really are a live band. It's
So it's kind of funny you guys mentioned that, because like when, shameless plug, my apologies here. When I was with the band that I was with here in Columbus locally for roughly about 20 years, we only went in and recorded live. Like we set up, everything was mic'd, and we did it all in, it wasn't done in pieces where lay down the drum track, lay down this, lay down that. We went in and did it live. No metronome, no bullshit. We just went in and just did it live. And I thought the recording came out great, and that's how I prefer to record. I don't want to sit there, do 15 drum tracks. This is the perfect one, or or you get into the lead guitar player wants to go over solos for days and days, and you're just eating up hours in the studio.
It just has to have the feeling, it has to have the attitude.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, because if you can't replicate that live, what's the point?
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the whole
pretty quick too. I mean, nobody messes around. The time is used wisely. We get together and we have a game plan of what we want to achieve, and we estimate all these extra hours, and generally we're out of there very quickly. 2 or 3 hours. Ross is always back in time to open up the Cage at 3 o'clock. So it's we work. We get together and we work and we accomplish a lot.
Yeah, it was, even though there was this kind of like scattered way of finishing it, we worked very efficiently when we got together.
You know,
Yeah.
it's not like I smoke a bunch of weed and like, oh man, like it's like, that's a good one. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's a good take, man.
No,
That
that's
no,
what we practice. That's what
that,
we do. We practice. We smoke weed. You know, we don't care how efficient we are.
Yeah.
Practices are generally good until the gummies kick in, and then and it turns into a whole different thing.
Yeah, and then these guys can't shut up.
I think the clock is
1 hour?
slow.
If you're ever in Ohio, hey, if you're ever in Ohio and have needs, come see me. All right.
Yeah, there you go.
We were just there.
You played it.
When'd you guys play?
We were at the Kent Theater. In, Kent.
Oh man,
Yeah.
dude, that's about I want to say that's about an hour away from me. I wish I would have known that. I would have loved to have seen it.
Next time. I mean, and then we were with the dance,
Okay.
but we had an off night, or they had an off night, so we pulled into the Kent Theater and played there. It was a great legendary little theater. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey Ross, real quick.
Yes.
Whenever, like, if you gotta like step away or something, if you just want to hit your mute button, you know what I mean?
This one, where is it? I don't know.
It's gonna be on you. It's gonna be on that longer piece of your earphone there.
It's on the phone.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
There
Pardon?
you go.
Can you mute him?
Hold on.
Tony, can you mute him?
I can.
Okay,
There you go.
Oh,
Well,
he disappeared from us.
that's one way to mute him.
I didn't ban him. I didn't like you're out of here. He
You
can drop
canceled him.
He could
Yeah.
drop back in anytime.
Yeah.
But so if I had to ask, like, from each of you, what's your favorite track on the new album, especially to play live?
Oh, well, we really haven't played. We've only played. We played.
No, we haven't played. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only ones we played are
Have a nice day.
"Have a Nice Day," "Imaginary Friend." That's
Okay.
it.
And get
No, we played.
Oh.
Let's get the band back together.
Band Back Together.
goddamn
And
New
we've
York.
done, goddamn New York once or twice. Not that many.
Yeah, just a couple, and I think "Imaginary Friends" we only played.
I'm sorry.
We only played twice also. So, but yeah. So of the new record, I mean, we do a great version of "Get the Band Back Together." It's really funny.
That's
We
fantastic.
add,
Dude.
there's a couple of little things that we add that are really cool.
When I listened to the album, I think I told Bruce, I said, this is probably the most perfect opener for an album I have ever heard. Just like, come on, man, guys, let's get the band back together. It's like, that was fucking genius.
Yeah,
The first
I
thing
mean,
you hear, the first thing you hear is and the guitar going.
I mean, the sequence was a real issue, believe it or not, because we all have the thoughts of making an album, a motion picture, and I got to give Andy the credit on it because I was like, man, we shouldn't put that on, but the way it is sequenced, it's like, if sometimes a bad sequencing could ruin a great album, and I thought,
Oh yeah.
That's something that comes up in conversation with us in many album reviews.
yeah.
Yes, but like a lot of the stuff that we do, it wasn't like Andy said, "Oh, let's just do." Andy said, "I think this," and then I was like, "No," and then Keith is like, "Well, I think this." It was a lot of debate, and then Andy finally came up with the final sequence, and it was great.
Yeah, Andy had a theme, and he broke it down to us like, okay, the band gets back together. Here you are, blah blah blah, and then at the end, Sweet Joey, the tribute to Joey, and it's almost kind of like the encore of the record, right? And thank you, have a nice day. But it was, I love the sequence. I love the way it flows. I mean,
Hey, all I know is we were here, Albert, and we were here the other day, and we played it on the our guys' PA, our guys' music system. We played the record, right, Albert?
Yeah.
How did it sound?
I didn't even recognize it. I thought, is that the Rolling Stones? I'm like, it sounded great. I mean, it sounded so freaking heavy. I was like,
oh my God,
astounded. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought,
the record
and then
sounded...
then I heard "Have a Nice Day," and I'm like, oh, that's us. Oh my God.
Good night, guys. Good night. Yeah, I mean, it was such a proud moment to like, wow, this is pretty good. It's like you work hard on something, and then when it comes out, it's good. It's
Yeah.
good.
You guys made a phenomenal album. Like I said,
Yeah.
I gave it a solid 10.
Really?
I did.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I gave it a solid 10.
For me, it is my favorite release of 2024
Oh my god.
by far.
It's gonna make my top 5 at the end of the season.
Yeah.
This is
And
a great honor.
honestly, it's tied for my favorite Dictators album. I mean, it's so fucking good.
What's the other one?
Blood Brothers.
You see, me being a fan of the band and them not making a record for 23 years,
Yeah.
I was thinking like this has got to be really good, and I knew it was good. I knew it was good, but it kept getting better because as the songs, all right, there's a great group of songs, so at least you got 5 great songs to compete with something, and I love the way that the single. But as by the end, I mean, it had such a carryover that. After all these, we're already working on another record with the uncertainty of what's going on.
Yeah.
Coming.
So the genie's been uncorked. You guys haven't put out an album in 23 years, and now all of a sudden we're working on the second one already.
Yeah, I just did a whole big session on the second record already, and it's very exciting. I mean, I think the band is we're totally excited about it. I mean, at this point in our lives, we've made so many records and done so many things with so many people, and then we find out that this band, there's 4 people together, is just an electric band. It's a really cool band, and there's no fucking sick issues in it, and it's just great to play, and it's great to listen to, and it's infectious. I think everybody that's heard this record is. I mean, sooner or later we're going to play to some big crowds, and it's going to be great.
Yeah.
I think it's a very relevant record. I mean, so being a bit of a punk fan and just a fan of music in general, I think that you guys, like if this album could sit there, in the section over by, and I'm just saying this to say it because they're bands that consider this nowadays. But the Blink 182s, the Green Days, and all that other good stuff that they call current punk. To me, it's not punk. Punk with post 80s lacks the main thing that made punk, which is attitude. And a lot of punk bands that call themselves punk in this day and age, they lack that attitude. They might have the look, but they don't have the attitude. And that's what made the punk sound. That's what made the Ramones. That's what made the Misfits. That's what made, Social D or Bad Religion, all those guys, Bad Brains, and all that stuff. There was these people didn't care. Sex Pistols, that's the epitome of punk. I mean, for crying out loud.
And they were all different from one another.
Yeah.
And the Clash, right? I mean, they're all different from one another. It's like everything is so homogenized where a band sees a band and emulates what they do. And it was never like that in the 70s. It's like, hey, those guys are good. But, it was all about creating your own thing. And the Dictators, as a fan, I mean, they predate the Ramones and they predate everything. I mean, that record came out in 75 and, the Ramones loved the Dictators. So it's like, they were, one of the founders and they come up in the argument of who, started punk rock, who put out the first punk rock record. And what you said is very valid. It was like up until about 81 where there was a lot of creativity and originality. And ever since then, it's just been rehashed. I mean, Green Day is just a great pop rock band. If anything, I'd put them more in a league of like Cheap Trick or something like that. Not so much a punk band. It just became fashionable to call it a punk band. As a matter of fact, with Springsteen, with these guys doing the countdown on Faster and Louder, my experience with Bruce Springsteen is I was playing in a band in the 90s and we were walking in the stage door of the Stone Pony. And he said, I know you're a musician. And I told him the name of my band. And he goes, oh, yeah, I read those advertisements because the ad, it was so cheesy. It said punk for the masses. And Bruce said, oh, you had that thing punk from your asses, which I thought was hysterical. But, Bruce.
That's like something we would have said.
But Bruce is a Dictators fan and, he loved the Tough Darts. And that's what we were talking about, the Tough Darts. He was on how much he loved those guys and Robert Gordon and But I mean, Dictators, right there, argument, one of the first punk rock bands.
Yeah. And it's a shame
in New York City.
It's a shame because bands that came afterwards are more recognized. Like I'll be honest with you, I had never heard of the Dictators until West Beach from the Plasmatics turned us on to the first album. And I gave the first album, I think, a solid album, or solid 9 or 10. I loved that album as well. I don't think I've heard a bad Dictators album. I was listening to DFFD today, and I love that. And I sit
My
here and I
son's
wonder,
left over.
when you guys go
My
to the
son's-
record label,
which one do you guys go to?
when we go to the record label, that how did going to them and saying, hey, we have this song Pussy and Money work out? Like that was a very interesting thing. And then to listen to the song, I was just like, God, that's so relevant, but it's so tongue in cheek, you know what I mean? And I absolutely loved every bit of it. I haven't heard a bad Dictators album. This new album is phenomenal. One thing I wanted to mention is, going through you guys' Wikipedia page while doing some research, I noticed that it says Andy Sherman had done a lot of the writing of the material.
Oh, me, Andy Chernoff?
And Chernoff, sorry.
Yeah,
my apologies.
I wrote I wrote most of the material.
Obviously a major songwriter in the Factor.
Say again?
And obviously a major songwriting component in the Factor of, pretty much the library of what the Dictators have done.
Yeah, well, I had a certain sarcastic attitude that sort of lyrical attitude that has marked the band as unique in what we do. I think because nobody else has that combination of humor and sarcasm. So
I completely agree.
I'm just a wise guy teenager, and now I'm a wise guy senior citizen. What can I say?
And speaking of punk rock, I mean, people have called Andy the Christopher Columbus of punk rock. So
Didn't I think Really Good was written on the album by Albert and you Keith, right?
Yeah.
And then Albert wrote Wicked Cool Disguise, right?
Nice.
And then I helped
Russ helped me with that.
and then I did Thank You, Have a Nice Day. Kind of the music a little bit, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
And then we all had our hands in the
I asked those questions because oftentimes Wikipedia embellishes things, and I like to hear it directly from the band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we all write songs. I mean, every one of us. I mean, I think before this lineup of the Dictators, Andy had the responsibility and hit it out of the park because he was the guy that had the vision, wrote the songs, and I think maybe it's a little easier now that we can all contribute and bring ideas to it, and maybe that's why we're on a second album more so than waiting for the next one. But I really like the unity. I mean, I really like being around these guys. I mean, we have a lot of fun together. We go on the road. We laugh our asses off. We go on stage. It's almost like, oh, really? Are we going on now? Because we're laughing in the dressing room. Like whether there's 2,000 people out there or 200, we're all very chill and relaxed. We've been doing this for such a long time that
I'll get it.
We'll
wait for Ross to take that credit card thing. But
Hey, Ross,
he's talking now.
People are coming to me, but I would say that without the contributions of Albert and Keith, this record would have been not just, it would be good, but not great. I mean, this record is just, I don't know. It's amazing.
It sounds like you guys are having a lot of fun, and it clearly shows through on the record.
Yeah.
And we're all very proud of it. We've all made a lot of records in the past. And I mean, I heard Andy say something the other day that I really related to. He said, I made a record, I make records. I really don't listen to them after I'm done, but this one, I do. And then you hear Albert and Ross saying they listen to it at the Cage. And the other day I got like a CD of it. I still have a CD player in my truck. I'm like, oh, let me put it in. And it's a short record, which is great.
Yeah.
And I listened to it twice and I'm like, man, this sounds, I haven't listened to it in a minute and it sounds really cool. I mean, it's not often I go back like that. So, and I think, you don't really cherry pick it. I think it's a great record.
No, I completely agree. Yep. So Andy, what was some of your hesitation about getting the band back together?
Oh, I just moved on. You know,
Okay.
I had some problems with our former singer is using the name illegally, so I know he wouldn't stop. Had to use had to hire a lawyer.
Yeah.
Well, I was just over it. The idea of doing it. I had a good life. I'm playing with bands where I live, and but Ross made the call. Scott said, "Hey, let's do it," and I said, "Hey, let's go for it." And I'm really glad I did.
Now,
Yeah.
Andy, you've done some production work for other artists and worked with other artists doing things over the years as well, too, from what I've read.
I have, yes.
Nice,
I've,
nice.
I've made probably I've have over 200 records in my as a producer, writer, player, uh, singer, whatever.
And that's something else I want to get into. I know that you guys have worked with other bands. I'd kind of like to talk about some of that as well and things that you've done. One thing I definitely want to ask Ross for sure is I know him being a founding member of Man of War. What's your thoughts on Michelangelo Badio jumping in on guitar over there, man?
Well, I got to tell you something. Always had after I left in 1988, they've had a problem with their guitar player. Like Spinal Tap and their drummer. I
Yeah.
mean, I've always had they just never could create my sound on the songs that I wrote there are rock and roll songs. These guys just don't have a clue on what I do. They just can't do it. They try their best. They're good guys. They tried their best, but Michelangelo Badio was like, I mean, it's like it's a different thing. And then when I listen to it, it's like the soul. I mean, it's just I can't listen to.
Our players have they gone through, Ross?
Oh, they had
seven,
David
right?
Schenkel, Carl. They had a kid from Brazil. They had 4 or 5 guitar players. And it's just the songs and the creation of the band was a rock and roll band. It wasn't metal band. Well, power metal songs, and then with rock and roll stuff. But
I love the first album. I know I did that a goofy thing the other day. Did an acoustic version of whatever one of the songs, and I said in the group text. But in all sincerity, that first Manowar record had a lot of Dictators kind of.
It is. It
Yeah.
was Little
New York
rock
street punk rock kind of attitude. I mean, it got a little Conan the Barbarian after that for me. But that's just
that was our point that we went, power metal, and it formed a whole new genre of music.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, your guitar playing, amazing on all the records.
No, for sure. So with the lineup changes and not playing together, no, you played together off and on, but how worried were you guys about chemistry? Like picking up where you left off, and then adding Keith and Albert, and were you worried about that at all? And then how long did that take to kind of shore itself up?
I think that they're in the band because the instant chemistry, to be honest.
Instant. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There was no doubt that this wasn't going to be a success. There was just no doubt in my mind.
Time we played with Keith and Albert. We've all played with Albert, dozens of times, all of us.
Mm-hmm.
We knew Albert was a given. Yeah. I didn't know Keith that well. Came down and instantly, this is the right guy.
The thing is, Keith and I were both huge Dictators fans. So from the beginning, from Go Go Crazy, and so for me, it was a little hard to play. The songs was easy. It was I know these songs, they're in my heart, and Keith too. But for me, writing for the Dictators, because I wrote a lot of songs for the Blue Oyster Cult, but I would start to write songs, and it just seemed like they weren't fitting the band. And it took me a little while, I think really until after we played live, before I got a feel for what would make a good Dictator song. Playing all these songs night after night, you get oh yeah, that's it, almost on a technical level.
And it seems like you guys have always, you've known each other from the beginning because same management, with Sandy. And, I think, didn't you guys want Albert to play on the first Dictators record? Wasn't that something that you guys really wanted to make happen?
Well, looking back on the whole thing, with Stu Boy being such a, just a disappointment on drums, and
Yeah.
Albert, the story is Albert was in the next studio, cranking it out with BOC. What would it have taken for Albert to come over? Yeah, listen to this, Albert, and go in and play it. He would have done it all in a day, and but that's how it worked out. I mean, but sadly, but luckily now.
Better late than pregnant.
That's right.
That's right.
That's it.
I'm going to use
So,
that.
so to Andy, Albert, and Ross, what are some of the best things that Keith brings to the band that maybe you were lacking before, or something just brand new?
Well, Keith's the best singer the band's ever had, best lead singer the band's ever had.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah, I'd say
When I'm writing songs, he can get it instantly. Previously it was like pulling teeth to get a good vocal.
Yeah.
And he gets the jokes. He's got the same background. His older brother was friends with Scott Kempner, so he knows the band. He knows what we're about, and been a perfect fit as far as I'm concerned.
he's like our kid brother.
Yeah,
Long lost cousin.
I would say on stage,
Yeah.
he's great. He just embodies these songs on stage, and it's great. It's great to hear
There's
it.
so many things that Keith brings to this band.
Yeah.
You can't really pick a best thing.
No.
I mean, his
I
guitar
couldn't-
playing, it fits perfectly with what we're doing. And on stage, he keeps the audience engaged. He knows what to say in between songs. He tells little stories. He makes them laugh. It's a lot of things that it's made it a much better band, I think. And no disrespect to any of the
I'm not
other,
disrespecting it. It's the truth.
but this is the best version.
Yeah.
Wow.
I will say this: listening to the albums, Keith's a powerhouse of a vocalist in comparison. And once again, no disrespect.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, you've traveled this journey to get to where you're at, and this version, you don't go this many years and there aren't lineup changes. That's damn near impossible to do in a situation like this. And I think the addition of what you guys have done has only built on the foundation that was laid before, and just you've made the tweaks to kind of perfect it for this album. You know what I mean? And this album definitely shines. Once again, no disrespect to the other albums, but this album shines, and I think it's a very relevant album to today. Whereas I would say, listening to the album, I think I called 2 or 3 tracks off the album that should be somewhere on the radio. Why are we not hearing this on the radio? Because this is good stuff. This is stuff that kids could get into if given the opportunity to, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
I mean, the band is lucky that they have, they come with a great following. I saw it firsthand going over to Europe, and I see people, how emotional they got, by hearing these songs and playing these songs, and me having the honor of singing these songs, and I was looking out in the crowd, and there was a couple moments where I got emotional, because it's like people are like getting emotional and they're right in your face, and it was a pretty heavy scene, especially the shows in Madrid and Valencia, and when we were over in Spain, and realizing the impact that some of these songs have had on people's lives. And it's pretty wild, very wild.
Do you guys ever get used to that feeling? Just someone coming up to you and just pouring their guts out to you, like, "Oh my God, you saved me." And this, do you ever get used to that?
No,
You can't get used to that.
Yeah.
no, it's always a thrill.
Yeah.
But people come up to you and
unless
say,
you come home and somebody's like, "If I can't have you, nobody can."
Oh, well then there's that. But no, that could get old very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
people
you
come
get
up to me and go, "I was going to commit suicide, but I found your music."
Yeah.
And that's happened a lot,
Wow.
especially like with the Manowar stuff, and I was like,
Yeah.
it's like you were going to commit suicide. What?
Yeah. And Andy, I mean, really, I mean, that's such a testament to your songwriting. That
the band
your song,
as a whole.
yeah, I mean, it's timeless.
I mean,
it's timeless and relevant. Just
you guys,
God.
there's no doubt that there isn't so much talent in this band, and you guys have done a lot and have a lot under your belt over the many, many, many years. One thing I like to ask guys is, and whether it be through a Dictator show or not, anything like that, what's some of the craziest shit you guys ever seen in a live show situation? Like what's memorable in your mind? You go, man, that was one freaking crazy night. Anything stick out particular?
For the Dictators or for any band?
Anything you've done, any version of any band or music you've been a part of.
Well, there was that time the girl gave Sid Vader's a blowjob on stage at CBGB's. For a live show, that was pretty funny. And
that was my neighbor from Mount Vernon.
Oh, well, so thank you, Ross.
Well, at least it wasn't your Uncle Lou.
We had a hamburger.
You got a number?
We had a White Castle hamburger fight on stage.
All right, at Irving Plaza. Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
that's
a White
awesome.
Castle fight?
Yep.
Yeah, somebody brought White Castle, like a big bag of White Castle, and they started getting thrown all over the audience.
That's funny. Yeah. That's a big thing for us here down in or out here in Columbus, man.
You're smart.
Bruce doesn't have access to them in Tennessee anymore, so whenever he's up in Columbus, he's got to grab him a sack of castles.
Oh, isn't White Castle's from Columbus? Isn't it?
Yeah.
The base there?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I
I love White Castle.
There is the most amazing taste ever. I mean, I just had them like 2 weeks ago. I was savoring every bite. I mean, you can't.
They're really special.
And literally, they melt in your mouth.
Yeah, and melt right out of your ass. All right,
Yeah,
you
got that too. But
never had a problem.
Never.
I swear to God.
Me too. Never had a problem with that.
It's not a weight issue. You lose weight when you eat those things.
Hey. Don't talk bad about White Castle.
No, man,
No,
this is
it's all
bad.
positive.
Guys are being disrespectful.
That's so awesome.
The band, there is a White Castle Hall of Fame, and really,
yes,
What's that?
We're gonna pay for the second.
the band should be in the White Castle Hall of Fame.
Just turn the stuff off and bring it.
Nice.
Tony, you should have some connections up there. Make it happen.
Yeah.
So much work left.
My cousin actually used to be a manager for several stores for White Castle, and eventually was going to be a district manager. But cocaine's a hell of a drug.
No.
I know.
Makes sense.
You got White Castle. Why do you need cocaine? I think that's my personal opinion. But,
Well, if you have them together, that's a whole new euphoria, right?
Yeah,
Oh my
I
goodness.
love that.
Awesome.
Now, real quick on the new album, was Scott able to record any parts? Does he have any parts that made it to the album?
he contributed to the first two songs.
Okay.
Let's get the band back together and Goddamn New York. But we want him to continue. His sister didn't want him. It was not helping his condition.
Yeah.
So we had to respect that. And so we had to continue without him.
How did that affect you guys? I mean, obviously you had been together for so long. It's like, take out the professional part of it, just seeing a longtime friend going through all that. And then, okay, what do we do now?
It was for me. It was just
Very difficult.
very difficult. Yeah, very difficult for Andy and me.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. I mean, one day I'm talking to him, and then and I found out he was sick, and he sounded just like Scott.
Yeah.
And then a week later, it was like he was going down fast.
Yeah, his father had passed away from the same thing.
Ah.
You know,
Yeah, I don't know. We said, but he had early stage
dementia,
which is what's that actor has the same thing now.
Bruce
Parkinson's.
Willis. Bruce
Bruce
Willis.
Willis.
All
Bruce
the same
Willis.
type. That
We had the
Louis
same
body.
illness. Yeah.
Okay.
And
It's just horrible.
his father had the same illness.
Mm.
So hereditary thing. And you know, when you see somebody who had a very vibrant life, you know, losing it, it was horrible to deal with. And
Yeah.
it didn't even hit me until after he died, actually.
Yeah.
Well, when he couldn't play anymore, I mean, it was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. What's
You know,
some good?
came all this way.
What's some good Scott stories?
Oh, well, there was the top 10 approved story. You want to
That's
tell
right.
that?
Oh, yeah, he was very picky on his hotels, so we had to get only get hotels that were TT approved.
He would take 2 showers a day. He was very, very, efficient. You know,
Well, I have a good story actually. When Green Day inducted Iggy into the Hall of Fame, Billy Armstrong quoted Scott's interview in Please Kill Me, the book Please Kill Me, about Iggy to induct Iggy into the Hall of Fame. I thought that was very
Yeah.
honor.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Jeff Ament from Pearl Jam, when they got inducted, I think he wore a shirt of bands that should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And if I'm not mistaken, the Dictators were one of the bands on his shirt, right?
I know nothing about that. Yeah, I was not aware of that.
it wouldn't suck if we were.
No, I mean,
We're in the museum.
We are in the museum, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Scott, I mean,
You guys are definitely cited as a major influence as what would eventually set the punk scene for America.
mm-hmm.
You know, one of the things I really loved about the album is, you know, we talk about song placement. That opening track was amazing, and that closing track was just the nail in the coffin. It was amazing. Listening to Sweet Joey, I was just sat there. I called Bruce up. I said, "Dude, I don't know why this album is not somewhere on the charts, blowing up. You know, especially with the content here and whatnot." I got to meet Joey Ramone by chance. I worked for a restaurant down here in Columbus when I was a young man, called the Claremont. It's a 5-star restaurant at the time, and I was just a busboy. And I got hip pretty early on that reading the guest list, we could find out there were people coming in. I met Lou Ferrigno, Doc Severinsen, several other people through this. And one day I just saw Joey Ramone on the guest list, and I went to the host and I said, "Is that Joey Ramone of the Ramones?" He said, "You stay the fuck away from that table." So, needless to
Tony
say,
can be a little intense.
I didn't stay away from the table, and I will tell you, he was one of the most soft-spoken, nicest people I've ever met. That is of the rock and roll industry, man. He was just a really, really nice guy. Wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I just want to say, man, I've been a fan of your music for years, and thank you so much. And he was just really mellow and cool.
Sure, he's thrilled to hear that.
yeah, he was. We would have been. He was the greatest. That guy was.
He was something else, man. It was just like no bullshit, no rock star bullshit. Just a very kind of shy, soft spoken, and gracious guy. You know, he was a really, really nice guy, man. I was very, very blown away by the experience, and it was just a small one. I've had bigger experiences with other people, but it's something I'll never forget.
he was a sweetheart.
No.
And he
Is
liked
that hardball?
he liked his steak blue.
Yeah, the yellow goes there.
A lot of people may not know that, but a lot of
Thank you.
people, he ate a blue steak that night.
What does that mean?
That's a little rarer than rare.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
It was moving.
yeah. He liked a pretty rare steak. That's for sure.
I'm looking at Jeff Amon's shirt from the Hall of Fame, seeing if the Dictator's name's on there. So I'm about a quarter of the
Research.
So, one of the songs we absolutely loved on the new album was "Goddamn New York," and I kind of saw it as kind of a love letter to how New York used to be. Am I wrong on that?
No, you're pretty right. I wrote it during the pandemic, so you know, things were boarded up in New York. It was people were dying, And I
Boy,
sort of
trip.
put up very positive that, I think New York's going to recover.
Yeah.
It's changed, but I think it's going to be,
We kept the faith.
and I think it's booming right now.
Yeah.
Their restaurants are full, streets full of people. Seems like people are doing pretty good there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our buddy West Beach,
Huh?
he wanted one of the questions he wanted to ask. He said, "How did Tish and Snooki get to sing backup vocals on that album? Because he used to play with them with the Accidents."
Yeah, well,
Yeah, we're playing right now.
we're friends with them,
Yeah.
and we've all worked with them in the past, and we needed female vocals, so they were the obvious choice. And
Yeah. Now, did they do any other backing vocals other than on Goddamn New York?
no, just for the album, just on that
Okay.
one.
Okay. Were any of the songs on the Crazy Horse EP, were you thinking about putting any of those on this album? Were they part of that same kind of recording session?
Well, I think I don't remember. This Crazy Horses was a new recording. I think everything else was added on by our digital distributor for some algorithmic reason. I don't really know. But everything else was
Gotcha.
previously on records, and the only new song was Crazy Horses, which will be on the new album. It didn't really,
Oh, cool.
it didn't really fit on the record we just did. So
You don't have to catch.
we love the song. It's a great performance, a great video also. So that was the first thing that Keith did, I think, right?
I think so. That or Festivus, one of those two.
Yeah, first you did Festivus because you
Yeah.
did the chorus. We had this stuff already recorded, and I'd actually done vocals, but then we just try to fit Keith in as we could.
Let me charge you guys $50.
And
Make it 75.
yeah,
It's because I charge on.
mute your ass, Ross.
But no, yeah, Crazy Horses is a fantastic song, and I hope it does make it to the next album. So
Absolutely will. It definitely will.
Yeah, it was cool. We shot that video at Dumbo in Brooklyn and caused a little bit of a spectacle with these guys on the ride, and it was a fun day in Brooklyn. And yeah, it was a cool video.
Now, when's the next time you guys are heading out on the road?
We're talking now. Things, we're going on a cruise next
Okay.
year.
May.
But those things get booked far in advance.
Is that one of those like rock cruises where they get a bunch
Little
of bands on?
Steven.
Yeah, it's a punk rock
Little
cruise.
Steven thing, Social D is on it. Who else is on it?
I think X is on it,
X.
right? X,
Yeah.
yeah.
Helicopters, X.
Helicopters, yeah.
Nashville Pussy.
Nice.
Oh, that's a great band. I love Nashville Pussy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, there's so many great acts on that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I think Lenny K's on there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you Google Little Steven's Cruise, it's in May. But
I
yeah.
think
You
there
guys just
might
played with
be-
Lenny K.
Yes. Yes, at Hammerstein Dome. I think there
Yeah.
might be a little alcohol on that boat.
Oh yeah,
Just
yeah.
a
It
little.
might be just a drop.
Yeah, I've done a lot of those cruises. It's a party, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a great show at the Hammerstein. That was interesting because we've done dates with the Dam before, but Lenny's band, his Nuggets band, played that night, and it was phenomenal to see. Lenny and Glenn Burtnick and all those guys. James Mastro, paying tribute to Love and all those great garage rock songs and doing it well. That was really special that night.
Yeah, I got to actually, Lenny was doing this little mini tour promoting his book, and I got to meet him on the book signing at one of the record stores here in Knoxville, Lost and Found, and he did a few songs acoustically and stuff. Super sweet, super cool dude. Yeah, Lenny's great.
Yeah.
That's just how the world. Officially.
Yeah.
Nice.
You've never heard a bad word said about Lenny K.
No.
Oh,
No.
that's awesome.
Never.
Possible.
If he can get along with Waylon Jennings with no problem, I mean, he's salt of the earth kind of guy, so because Waylon didn't get along with too many people he didn't trust, so
He'd get along with Lenny K. Oh, he
Yeah.
did get along with Lenny K.
yeah,
I think the other nicest guy in rock and roll, like Lenny, is probably Brian Johnson from AC/DC. I don't think there's a nicer, well, except Lenny K.
Yeah.
But that is the nicest dude that you ever want to meet, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, Keith, I think you're the nicest guy in rock and roll.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what to say. I don't even.
Albert is.
Albert
Albert's
is,
the nicest guy.
unless you want him to sign a Bad Channels album.
Oh my God.
You know those guys that wait in front of the venue with the vinyl, the whole thing. They're at every show, and I think we were in Canada, right? And
Yeah.
this guy, he had a stack this big. They were going on eBay right after.
Oh yeah.
Right afterwards, but he had this Bad Channels record, and I think he had everybody in Blue Oyster Cult except Albert, and Albert wouldn't sign it. Albert was like, freaking out, like he was gonna. That's the only time I ever saw Albert like in a really nasty.
Yeah, I said I'm not in that piece of crap album.
Yeah. He really tried to persuade you, though.
Yeah, no, sign it anyway. Sign it anyway. I said, no, this is I'm not proud of that record. Nah.
Did you play on that record, Albert?
Hell no. But even some of the records that they made without me were pretty decent.
Yeah, but not the one right after you left. That wasn't very good.
And there was great stuff on there. There really was some good stuff. What Joe's songs were great. Let Go, of course. Well,
that's the one. That's the first song I heard, and I'm like, nah. I'm a Blue Oyster Cult fan. I love those first three records. This whole band loves Blue Oyster Cult, but when I heard that one song first, I was like, oh my God, look what happened when Albert left the band there. But you're right, though. There's some really Death Valley Nights is an amazing song, and I'm trying. That's on Spectres, right?
Yeah, there was a great song was
one Al DeNova
Shadow of California was on let's see, when War Comes. Yeah, Shadow of California was on what's it called? Revolution by Night. Revolution by Night. And there was the When War Comes, which was on Club Ninja. Another two great songs that were on those records. They could have been greater. If I'd been there, I'm sure I could have made them sound better.
One song
and I did make them sound better on my record.
That's true. Yeah, I mean the song Aldo Nova wrote with for Revolution by Night. That's a BOC.
Yeah, great. Take Me Away. Fantastic.
Great song. Anyway,
I love BOC too. I mean, I've been a fan since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So they're definitely influential into the style of music that I write and work on myself.
And I do apologize because I'm looking at Jeff Amen's shirt from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I was wrong. I mean, the Damned are on there. Blue Oyster Cult is on there. There's a lot of Roxy Music. I don't see the Dictators, so I do apologize. So
that was in the back.
We suck.
That's right. So, speaking of influences, when you guys were, figuring it out, who were some of your biggest influences?
Oh my God. Well, for me, growing up, it was the Cream, or Jimi Hendrix, and Black Sabbath. And then the first time I heard Blue Oyster Cult, I was a fan on that first record, a fan of Buck Dharma. And there's a lot of guitar players that shaped me. B.B. King, and Albert King, Freddie King, I grew up for many years learning the blues, and Who live at Leeds. I mean, very, very great stuff. Black Sabbath, Jimi Hendrix, the stuff that you would think that I would listen to as a young kid growing up, I listened to. And but I had an immense appreciation for the blues growing up, and I still do.
Bruce has turned me on to a lot of good blues stuff over the last few seasons. He dumped some pretty good shit on me, and it's like
there's some amazing shit out there.
He did shit on Albert King a little bit. That kind of hurt my heart. Of the three kings, Albert's my favorite.
Nice.
But what about the rest of you guys?
I would say Gene Krupa was big influence. Benny Goodman, Bing Crosby. That's what I know. I'm a little older than
You definitely hear all that in you. I definitely hear all that stuff in you.
yeah. I was a big jazz fan before I liked rock at all. And in the early days, there was Bill Haley and Elvis and stuff, and I didn't really care for that much. The first rock music I got into was the Ventures.
Mm.
I loved it, Walk Don't Run, and all the Ventures records were great. Instrumental music was big back in those days. I still like, I got Tom Bukovac, the Nashville session guy, has put out 3 instrumental records. I have all 3. I love them. I listen to them all the time. It's instrumental rock guitar.
Yeah.
And I love that, I mean, that would be great for Dictators to do instrumental. I'm maybe on the next record.
Call it
But-
Uncle Lou.
We'll call it Uncle Lou. There you go. Could have a little recitation in the beginning, and then
You could just have like
some raw shredding.
a big hairy guy in front of a community pool, and there's an homage.
Frightened children.
Ode to Uncle Lou. Ode to Uncle Lou.
But yeah, I love the Beach Boys and the Beatles and the Stones, and all. I like all music, really. I like country music. I like rap. I like Kendrick Lamar and Eminem and the rapper named Logic. Fantastic stuff. I mean, not every. Just like any other genre, there's stuff that doesn't appeal to me. But I love Chapel Roan. Okay. So I love everything from, as long as it's good, as long as it's quality stuff.
I got an album for you that I think you might appreciate. So if you'd be open to listen to something I dump on you, I gave it to Bruce. Bruce gave it a phenomenal rating, but being that you talk about jazz and whatnot, I want you to check out a band called Borin and Der Club of Gore. I know I'll spell it for you later or something, but they're out of Germany and they're dark instrumental jazz. And I listen to this stuff at night constantly, and it's really soothing. Sometimes I'm out of the road driving at night, and it just do a circle, do the drive around the freeway, just to kind of get things off my mind. These guys are really, really, really mellow. I think you would personally dig them.
You ever check out Jazz Sabbath?
I have not.
Jazz Sabbath's amazing. It's Adam Wakeman, who played with Black Sabbath, Rick Wakeman's kid, but they do this jazz interpretation of Sabbath songs, and they just put out the 3rd one, and it's amazing. It's jazz versions of Black Sabbath songs, and phenomenal.
Have you heard Brown Sabbath?
No, I didn't hear that one.
Yeah, so that's basically a bunch of Mexican guys doing like Sabbath songs. It's fucking phenomenal.
Did they do that in front of Ozzy? Did they?
I don't know.
Max Sabbath did that in front of Ozzy.
Oh, those guys are wild, man.
Those dudes are nuts.
I did something with those guys.
The McDonald's Sabbath band.
Yeah, that's an experience. And the singer is a total punk rock guy. He loves the Dead Boys, and but he's there. That's an amazing thing to check out. I mean, the grills, and they're playing in those costumes, and they're like 8 feet tall, and it's wild. Really good. And he sounds like Ozzy, which is really
that's wild.
They do a great job.
Fun. They do really a good job. I mean, one of my biggest influences, Parliament Funkadelic.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, Eddie Hazel, to me, the most underrated guitar player, and I mean, just that slew of records that they've done, and especially when they were a rock band, like Osmium. I think is, I think. Listen, I love Lenny Kravitz, but I think he bought that Osmium record and made a career off of that one. It's like every riff, every melody, it's all in that first Parliament record, and and they were a badass band. I mean,
smart.
Yeah, no, he listened well. He studied from, but that
the masters.
I'm a huge Funkadelic. If I told you, being a metal guy, the bands I have seen the most, this would blow most people's minds. I have seen Parliament 8 times.
Wow.
I've seen Kool and the Gang probably 1 time more than them. But those are bands that my family grew up on. I would go see Kool and the Gang at the Ohio State Fair every year. every year for a number of years. And every time Parliament would come around, I'm an old school Funkadelic fan. Love the Maggot Brain album. It'll always fall in my top 10.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
guys,
gentlemen,
yes, sir.
I'm gonna have to get up and start getting this place into shape for some shape that it's in. So I got some like 4 cages I got to clean up and kick out. So you wouldn't mind that I
Ross,
said goodbye to every.
Nope. Thanks for dropping in tonight, man.
Ross.
Yeah, guys, it was great. Thank you so much for the time.
No, absolutely. Thanks you.
This will be uploaded Tuesday evening.
Okay.
Okay, so that if you want to take a chance at
I don't mean to be rude. I don't mean to be rude or anything, but
not in the least.
No
man.
worries.
We're just thankful and gracious that you should.
We'll see you soon, Ross.
We will see you guys soon, Albert. Yeah.
Bye,
Andy.
Ross.
See you, dude.
Take care, Andy.
Okay.
You got
Give
it,
me a
Ross.
call, Andy. Let me know what's going on with the new stuff.
Yeah. Or I sent you an email. You get my email before?
Oh, I'll check it. I'll check it.
Yeah. Okay, great.
All right.
Later, Ross.
All right.
Boy, he's a busy boy.
I think he is
That's right.
You know, a group that I thought was fantastic that didn't get the recognition that they deserved was called Mother's Finest.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of them.
They were a fantastic group.
Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
And they played they did the Led Zeppelin song because Led Zeppelin ripped off all the blues artists. So what they did is they took all this they did I think it was Custard Pie, and they used the exact same arrangement but just changed the melody, but it's the exact same arrangement just to kind of as a so what Led Zeppelin, Robin, Leadbelly and all this stuff. And I love Led Zeppelin, but that was cool. They were a great band, Mother's Finest. She was amazing. Love them.
Lead singer I think her name was Mary Kennedy or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic singer. Still doing it too. She's like 80 years old.
Wow.
Keep it on. Yeah. Good
she
stuff.
lives in Chicago now.
Now, you guys said earlier you guys are still you're working on some new material. How far are we in?
Oh,
4 songs. Well, 5 songs. So we're in.
Yeah, we tracked a bunch of stuff. We have some stuff recorded. I have 2 new songs I'm dying to play with the band. So we're moving. It's a slow process.
So would it be safe to say we may see a Dictators release in 2026, maybe 2027?
No, I'd say before 2027. Hopefully we get it done this year.
Nice.
Yeah.
That'd be something, right?
Out next year.
The record, 2 albums consecutively. That would be something. Has the Dictators ever done something like that? Andy, was Manifest and
Manifest and Blood Brothers.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. Manifest was 77, Blood Brothers was 78. Yes.
Yep.
So we need to kind of try to recapture that.
Yeah.
We can imagine.
Can't see why we
I
couldn't.
think you guys need to not let up. As long as you're still comfortable doing it, keep making music, man. I've yet to hear a bad album.
Thank you. Well, we have the time now because we're not playing. Just released the record. We're doing like publicity, signing records, all that kind of stuff. So we got the time. Got to use the time when it's available. So
Yep.
We're doing.
Can you tell us? What can you tell us about the Black Friday release, that limited edition release that you guys are doing?
Oh, we recorded a show in Spain and releasing 2 songs as a single around Record Store Day. I don't know if it's an official Record Store Day. We do have an official one coming out in April. But
nice.
One is a cover of Dominance and Submission, a Blue War Skull song. Albert singing it. And the other one is a cover of Velvet Underground song, What Goes On, and Keith sings that. So we're pretty happy with them. It's a good single.
Yeah, I mean, and that song's been part of the Dictators' history because I had older brothers, so I knew the Velvet Underground, and when the Dictators, I've been following them since their first album, so they released something called "Fuck 'Em If You Can't Take a Joke."
Yep.
In the early 80s. I think it was a cassette only or something. And I love the Dictators version of it. And, seeing them and playing with them, throughout the years, and they've done that live. it was something I really wanted to. I'm glad that that's been part of the set since I've been playing with the guys, and I think we do a pretty awesome version of it, and I think we captured it pretty good in Spain. So
now,
Keith,
like, going back and playing some of the old stuff, not so much a cover. What do you enjoy playing of the old stuff?
Minnesota Strip.
Oh God, that's one of the finest fucking riffs ever.
Yeah, that is badass. I love that. I love It's All Right is a lot of fun playing live. Stay With Me. That's always the last song, and especially you're having a great show. It's like that's what a perfect way to end it.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like them all. I don't, I mean, when we headline shows, I mean, we do like a 2-hour set, and there's really no drops in the set. It's cool when Albert, does dominance and submission and plays live, but Pussy and Money's a lot of fun to play live. I thought Imaginary Friend, we started doing that on the last run we did with the Damned, on those 5 or 6 shows that we were out, and that was something I look forward to. But being a fan of the band, when we do stuff from the Go Girl Crazy record, you were mentioning Mark the Animal Mendoza. He came out in the last 2 shows that we did of the tour, I guess last year, was in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and Long Island, and he came out and he did Next Big Thing, and what else did he do?
That's one of my favorite tracks.
And Andy was just singing, and it was really cool. So anything from Go Girl Crazy and Blood Brothers. Like I said, I've been a fan of the band, so I like all the tunes.
And Keith, I can't remember. Did you tell us what your favorite Dictators album is?
Well, the first record I ever bought with my own money was Go Girl Crazy, because my brother went to kindergarten with Scott Kempner and Richard, and so I knew those guys from the neighborhood, and so when I had my own, I had money, I went to Alexander's, the record department, and I saw that cover, of him on the cover and I was into pro wrestling, like Bruno Sammartino and Superstar Graham, and I took it home, and you hear those heavy riffs and those lyrics, and I'm thinking, like, these guys are from the neighborhood. It's all about this neighborhood, and like, I know that McDonald's, I knew that. So that record, you listen to a lot of records and they kind of come and go in your life. You get back into them. That record always stood with me. So that's probably my favorite out of that period of the Dictators. I never get sick of listening to that one.
That was first album you ever bought?
That was the first album I ever bought, but I got record. My brother is like crazy when it comes to like keeping his records in certain conditions. So I would scratch them because I know he wouldn't want them anymore, and he'd hand them down to me. And I had this little portable record player, and I accumulated some, and I would get some for my birthday. But with my own money, that was the first record I bought with my own money, and I still have that copy, and I love it.
What was the first album you ever bought, Bruce?
It was Iron Maiden Live After Death.
Andy?
First record I ever bought was the Beach Boys Today.
Albert?
Hey, Let's Twist, Joey D and the Starlighters.
Tone? Quiet Riot, Metal Hell.
That was your first record?
Oh, wow.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So my favorite Dictators record is probably, it changes from time to time.
Yeah.
But Blood Brothers certainly was one. It was, I love that. DFFD came out. I thought it's not as good as Blood Brothers, and then I listened to it more. I'm like, no, I think it's better than Blood Brothers. But really, my favorite Dictators record is probably what was the Wild Kingdom record.
Yeah, that was great.
That record is phenomenal. It just kicks ass.
Yeah, it does. My favorite Dictators record is the one we just did.
Oh yeah. Well, aside from that.
So you're talking about the second best.
That's right. Second best.
Second best.
Not your favorite. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And my favorite songs to play are Savage Beat and Two Tub Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
I fucking love Two Tub Man. It's just so much fun to play.
Really?
As a drummer, it's a dream. Yeah.
Now, Andy, you've been playing these a long time. Andy's been playing these a long time. What do you love?
First song I ever wrote was Two Tub Man.
Nice.
First song I ever wrote in my life.
That's amazing.
Wow.
I can't believe it. But
So even that little spoken word thing with about Vern Gagne and Dick the Bruiser and
that was Manitoba ranting and raving in the studio, and our producer Murray Krugman just kept the tape rolling, cut little bits and pieces out of it, and put it, in songs. That was Murray's doing.
okay.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that
I
Eric
think-
Bloom reference was hysterical.
Yeah, it was very funny. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool. And I Got You, Babe. I mean, that was great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. We even did that.
Listen,
That was
I love
Vern's idea.
Novelty
What-
tune.
I
Was
love
it-
Cher. So anything Cher related at that point. I mean, as a little kid, that Half Breed record, remember her?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I bought, I don't even know if I listened to the album, but that was another record that I got. I used to stare at that cover for hours. So anything, Cher related, that was cool.
That's funny.
It was cool.
Sandy, what's yours? What's your second favorite Dictators album?
After the first one,
Yes.
I'd say DFFD actually, because
I would agree.
I think the sound of that one, just really raw in your face.
I would
And-
agree. That's what I loved about it.
Yeah, so if I had to rank them, and I put Blood Brothers third and Gold Crazy fourth and Manifest Destiny fifth.
Interesting.
I think it's just I think it needs to be said again. People really don't understand how you guys paved the way for bigger American punk bands. And I'm very gracious and thankful that we've gotten you guys on the show to have this great
Hey,
conversation.
thank you. That's great.
Glad
to be here.
It's just been, I can't thank West Beach from the Plasmatics enough for giving us the first album to listen to and going, okay, because Bruce and I are kind of the same in the respect of, if we hear an album from a band and we love the album, we're going to go explore the whole library and probably follow that band for consistent number of years. I mean, we trade music back so much, and there's so much different stuff that we trade. Like, Albert was talking, he listens to all different styles of music, hip hop, country and whatnot. Bruce is more the country and Southern rock and gospel and blues type person. I'm more the hip hop, doom metal, thrash metal, technical metal type thing. But I also listen to dark jazz and all kinds of other stuff. And it's one of the great things that makes our show so versed, is like we hand albums that we respect each other back and forth. And it's funny because like we'll sit there and pre-show go, dude, that album was absolute shit. How am I supposed to say anything nice about this album?
But that's part of the fun, though. It's like, I know he's probably going to hate this, but damn, I want to see the reaction, So
I'll never forget. What did you give the Great Cat album?
fucking 2. The thing was
Okay,
trash.
The girl virtuoso player. Was
Yeah.
Beethoven on Speed. I gave him Beethoven on Speed, which I love the album, and he just shit all over it in the review.
Yeah.
Obviously, she can play guitar. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of, if you're going to shred like that, I mean, like all over the place, you better be picking every note. And she doesn't do that. She does the hammer-on thing, and I can do that. But Ross will pick every freaking note, man. It's like, so just like Buck Dharma, it's so fucking precise. It's like, whoa, just like, you're going fast, but it's pushing the beat, It's like
speed isn't always good.
yeah.
No.
Yeah. So the cat, she didn't realize that
Yeah.
power is better than speed.
My buddy Mike Chalasic, who went on to play with Halford, played with the Great Cat for many years. So, Mike C from Halford and Testament, and he's a Jersey guy, but he has some good Great Cat stories. But Mike's like, will never say anything bad. He thought she was, and he's an incredible freak of a guitar player, but he thought she was super talented, talented.
Well, she did. She did get degreed at Juilliard, didn't she?
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. Yeah.
I kind of liked her, but her records sound like shit.
Yeah.
I think it definitely suffered in production quality.
Oh,
Definitely suckered in.
you said you were a Twisted Sister fan, right? So I have a Dictators story that was told to me from Mark the Animal Mendoza. But when the Dictators were playing with Kiss back in '78, apparently everybody was all at this Holiday Inn, and they were hanging out by the pool, and there was a big sign that says, "Men, bring your wife in and eat for $4.95." So Mark told me that he was just in a mischievous mood, and he climbed up the two stories to get to the sign. And apparently, the late great drummer of the Dictators, Richie Teeter, was taking pictures of him. And when he got up to the sign, he changed it around to say, "Men, eat out your wives for $4.95." Right. And this was off like a major highway. So it was causing like all this craziness. People were seeing this. I think it was like in West Virginia.
And the car pile up.
Yeah. Well, apparently the state police came and they're questioning like who changed the sign. And apparently Gene Simmons was like, it's impossible that we knew anybody because we're swimming and the sign's right there. But Mark said that the pool was, the sign was behind the pool. So Mark said it's been after all these years, he could confess that if you saw that on the highway, it was Mark that changed the sign around. But I thought that was hysterical.
That's awesome.
And he said he wanted to try to track down Richie Teeter, the library to see if he could find one of those photos because Richie passed away about 10, 15 years ago, right, guys?
About 10 years ago, I think. Yeah.
10 years ago, yeah. But anyway, that was my Twisted Sister Dictators Mendoza story.
I love
Awesome.
that.
Oh, I got a question for Andy. I mean, Andy, what was it like playing with Kiss back in the '70s when they were like the biggest band on the planet?
Those are the biggest places we ever played. Those were like Coliseum, hockey rink, basketball rink plays, things. We had a core fans there, but the audience generally was not interested in what we had to offer. I think
by that time had Kiss done broke big?
Oh, 78, absolutely.
Like
did the first live
period, I think.
Did the first
So
live
that was
album
76, yeah.
Okay.
Was it for some reason I think it was Destroyer because they were opening it with
Yeah.
Detroit
Yeah,
Rock
yeah.
City.
Yeah.
So 76 they released Destroyer and Rock and Roll Over.
Right.
Yeah.
77.
Possible, yeah.
So 77 Love Gun.
Yeah, this was 77 when we toured with them.
Okay.
So but it was it was a good experience to play those kind of venues. Cheap Trick was on a lot of the bills.
Yeah.
They're a lot
So
of fun.
it was a good memory.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean,
is there anybody you guys have toured with that you absolutely loved touring with, or anybody you loathed touring with?
Well, AC/DC was great. And Lizzie, like
Oh my God. Okay. Well,
actually, Albert
playing-
may have some stories. He did
Yeah. I would say the most fun band we ever played with was the Hunter Ronson Band. Those guys were just amazing. Amazing band. Ian Hunter, so much fun. Mick Ronson, just a lovely person. So we did a lot of gigs with them. Rush was great to play with. They were a lot of fun.
Nice.
And the thing is that, you'd play with other groups that were amazing groups, and there would just be tension, like AC/DC, for instance. They opened for us, and I thought they were pretty good. And then when we opened for them, it was all this drama backstage. Oh, you can't go here. Oh, you can't go there,
Wow.
And it's, it was similar to like Kiss or even Beck Bogart Apathy. There was tension, or even Black Sabbath. There was all this tension backstage, and I don't know why. I mean, these were people that Black Sabbath, I know why, because they were opening for us, and we had opened for them, for years before. And all of a sudden they're opening for us. They resented that. I think that's part of the problem. Tony definitely resented it. It's like, whereas, Aerosmith, they open for us, we open for them. Aerosmith is fun. I was in a state where was doing too many drugs, and they didn't help. So that was the bad part of that. Was too much drugs.
The problem was you weren't doing them together. If you were
That's
doing,
right.
We were. No, the problem was we were. We line for line, we were matching them. And it was like I would get up there, and I'm like, how could I even play? And I'm too fucking high. So yeah, I don't know how they did it. I don't know how they pulled it off, but they managed to sound great. I don't know. Maybe we sounded great. I have no idea. I was just like so inside my brain, because I was so high.
Real quick, do any of you guys have? I know Keith does, but anybody else? Does anyone have any good Ace Frehley stories?
I didn't really know him. Scott knew him from he went to college when Hunter College with him. I don't really know Ace Frehley. Oh, I have one little story. There's a band in New York called the Sick
Fucks.
Fucks. I can say that, right?
You can say whatever you want on here.
Fucks. And they used to do a cover of Strutter, but they changed it to Butter. It's a Fish and Snooki's band. And Ace Frehley went to see them one time, and he was cracking up watching them play Butter.
Butter. Oh, Russ! I could see Russ singing that. Oh my God!
It was very funny.
Yeah. They're a great band, the Sick Fucks.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
I didn't know they should be like household names. I mean, I don't know why they're not huge.
You remember that song, that commercial? Sergio. Sergio.
Yeah.
The guy from the Sick Fucks wrote that. Yeah.
No kidding.
That's crazy.
That kind of funded his his rent or his mortgage for a long time, because that was a huge jingle. But they were entertaining.
Yeah.
And then they had that other band in the 90s called Young and Fabulous. Some of the Sick Fucks guys got it.
They did The Party Starts Now, that
right.
band.
Yeah. They did a good version of it, actually.
Yes, very good.
Yeah, JP still plays with them. So when they play,
Sick Fucks?
Yeah.
The guy, it was Jim Maresca who wrote the song.
Yeah.
And it was Young and Fabulous, right.
And you see him, he's like, a little guy, and he's bald, and then he transforms into this like larger than life rock god.
He puts on the wig, puts on the outfit.
Yeah, the big boots, and he like walks out like, holy shit, it's amazing to see the train. Like, he's a guy that you would think was selling like Xerox paper. And then, he comes out like, and he's like this, 7-foot rock god. It's amazing how he would transform into that. Pretty cool.
It's like,
That's
sounds
awesome.
like Danny Filth from Cradle of Filth, man. He's really kind of tiny in stature. I remember seeing them for the first time out here at the Newport, and I wasn't really into the guys. I tried checking out their music, but it took seeing them live for me to really appreciate them. Met them after the show, and I remember him just being a really, really small guy, and I would go, he looked like a monster on stage. It's kind of like that Glenn Danzig syndrome, where Glenn is this little guy, but he looks like a monster on stage. You know what I mean? Just this bigger than life personality that once that happens, they go out there and it's just.
I think you do, though. You get bigger on stage.
Yeah.
You do. It's like, I think you physically you blow up.
Well, I think if that be the case, when I'm on stage, I go from 350 to 400 then.
Yeah. So there you go.
The first big rock band I ever met, I was like 15 years old, and we had backstage passes for Blue Oyster Cult at Convention Hall, Asbury Park, and Frank White, the photographer, gave them to us. And the first thing I said, and I wound up knowing Buck, because Buck lived in my town, literally down the street, and I got to be close with him for a few years, but I could not believe how short everybody was. So when they came out, like, Buck Dahmer's like 5'3", right, Albert? 5'3", 5'4".
I think maybe less than that, but
yeah, I was like, I was shocked how, because like you said, you guys look like giants on stage, and then I'm talking to Buck, and I'm like, holy shit, these guys are pretty small,
Nice. Bruce, do you have anything else that you'd like to add, or before maybe we wrap this thing up, or is there anything else that anybody else would like to discuss before we wrap this up? Your call.
I don't know. We've been talking a pretty long time.
I know. I
got nothing. I started. What was it? 2 hours ago.
Yeah, Albert was on the call a half hour before you guys.
I guess I got one last question, and it's about Manifest Destiny. What was going on during that songwriting and recording process? There was such heartbreak on that album, and it's fantastic. It's fan-fucking-tastic. I especially love Hey Boys and Disease. 2 fantastic fucking songs.
Well, I guess we were so sad after the failure of our first album. We were crying in our cocaine. That was our first album came out. It was before punk rock had any kind of foothold in the culture. There was no place for us to play. And then all of a sudden CBGB's happens and we got signed again. And we didn't want to, we wanted to make a record that, could get played on the radio and that could have some success. And it was a brave attempt, but we're just not that kind of band that's going to be a commercial, Tom Petty or Aerosmith or even Blue Oyster had hits. I don't know if we had it in us. We may have it now, but it's long past our due date in a lot of ways. So I think it was a wrong turn to make a commercial record with a lot of overdubs and a lot of harmonies. And I think it was a little, the time called for an album like Blood Brothers, but of course we put that out next. So we've been through a lot of permutations, but it's been great. I've been making music my whole life. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And I always say in every interview, every day you make music is a good day. So I've had a lot of good days.
Well, one thing I could say definitely is looking and talking with the three of you guys. There are people in the industry that music's in their DNA. It's just in the blood. There's no way you could step away from it. There's no way you could deny it. And I could tell every member of this band as it's in your guys' DNA. And that's probably one of the biggest reasons why these 2 new guys come in, fill in these spots, and the chemistry just strikes because it's just in your DNA, guys. And I hope that you guys continue to make great albums. Every album I've loved. I can't say I would not listen to any Dictators album if it ever came across the radio. I really appreciate this new album. I would like to tell our fans, if you get the chance, Bruce says this is going to fall into one of his top 5 for the year. It's definitely going to fall in one of my top 5 for the year. I think this album should be checked out. I think if you get the opportunity to sit down and go see these guys, definitely go check out them live. They are a live experience. It's not, and it shows through on the album. With that being said, I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up, and I'd like to give you guys the opportunity, being that we only have the 3 of you here. It looks like you're going to do some damage to us, and next week's episode will be a tri-megasode episode. So what we mean by that is we offer our guests the opportunity to provide us album to review, and you guys can hear our review on it in exchange for just hanging out and doing the show with us. We really appreciate you taking the time to do so. So if you guys would like to give us an album to review from next week's show, each of you, we'll take them.
Oh, an album that we didn't make, you mean? Just an album.
Correct.
Just an album that you absolutely love or think that is something that we should hear, and maybe put it out to people through the internet to make people more aware of it. We love that. We love those kind of things.
So it doesn't have to be a new record, right?
Nope.
Anything.
Anything you want. We love to hear it.
Anything you love.
Okay.
All right. Andy, you want to go first?
I'm thinking I have to go look into my Spotify playlist to really see what I've been listening to. Keith, you go first.
There was a band called Imperial Drag. Are you guys hip to them?
Nope.
I am not.
It was Eric Dover from Jellyfish and Roger Manning, and they put together like a 70s rock band. with just amazing songs, amazing playing. They had amazing look, and it was in the mid '90s, and it was such a '70s throwback album, and it just the world wasn't ready for it. If that album would have came out, let's say in 2010 or 11, it would have resonated. And they only made one record, but I think that's probably it's probably the greatest unheard record one of the greatest unheard records in my opinion. The band was called Imperial Drag.
What's the name of the album?
Just Imperial Drag, self-titled. And do a little name drop. And I was talking to Robin Zander from Cheap Trick about it, and he felt the same way. He's like, man, he goes, I know everybody loves Jellyfish. He goes, but I thought that was better. And I'm like, I know. It was just it's just sad that nobody caught on to it. And I'm sure you could find it. I don't think it's ever came out on vinyl. You could probably find it in the CD bin for $1. I don't even know if it's available for streaming, but search it out. It's an incredible.
If we can locate it, hopefully it's out there on YouTube and we can locate it, or Spotify.
It should be, actually.
We'll be able to grab it up.
Hopefully it is, but that's an amazing record.
But if you tune in next week, you'll catch our review, or the following, not next week, because next week we're going to release this episode, but the following week you'll catch our review on it.
It'll blow your mind.
Sweet.
I'm looking forward to it. Anybody else?
Yeah, I just was thinking of one of my discoveries on deep dives on Spotify was Doug Sahm, Sahm. He was in the Sir Douglas Quintet in the '60s, and he made these kind of country rockish records. And this record, I think it's called Doug Sahm and his band, or Doug Sahm and Band. It came out in the early '70s, and I would give that one a shot. I really enjoyed his music and his vocals and his very loose.
Can you spell that Psalm for me again?
Sahm.
And do you know what the name of the album was?
I think it was called Doug Sahm, Sahm, and Band, and his band. It was an early '70s record, but he made a lot of good records. Bob Dylan played with him, and a lot of people played with him. He was a real character, and made some great singer. I love his vocals.
Great. I got that down. Sahm, Doug Sahm. Looking forward to that. And Albert, you got anything for us, man?
Yeah, well, I have 2 records that I've been listening to that are like on my top playlist that I listen to a lot. And one is In Stereo by Tom Bokovac and Guthrie Trapp. And the other is Super Sexy Heartbreak by Mary Spender. So,
which one do you want us to review?
In Stereo, I think is more. Mary Spender is a singer-songwriter in the kind of Ed Sheeran style, but Tom Bokovac is pretty wild. It's jazzy rock, sort of prog rock thing.
Nice. Now,
Yeah.
in return, you don't have to, because we're obviously not going to get reviews back from you guys unless you want to email us and say, hey, really dig that stuff, and you want to be turned on to anything else. I personally want to give Albert Bohren and Der Club of Gore. They're out of Germany. Just
Okay.
look up the album. It's called Patchouli Blue. Bruce ended up giving this one high marks. I love everything from this band. If you get the chance, check them out. Bruce, you got
I'll check it out
you got
right
an
now.
album for Andy and
What's it?
Wait,
Hold on.
say that album, that band name again.
it's Bohren, Bohren.
Uh-huh.
The and symbol. Der, Der. Club, Club, of Gore. OF.
Yeah,
And then
I got it on
G-O-R-E.
Spotify here.
Yeah.
You know,
Very dark instrumental jazz out
Oh,
of
yeah.
Germany.
Okay.
And the album's
got
called Patchouli Blue.
Yeah, that part I got.
All right.
All right, cool. I'll check that out.
Yeah.
And then,
I'll check it out,
Bruce,
too.
do you have anything that you'd like to dump on them?
Oh, sure. Let's go with, it's a really cool band that I got turned on to thanks to Spotify. I was listening to one of your guys' albums and it just kind of kicked over to these guys. Called the Bell Rays.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I know that we play with the Bell Rays. Yeah.
Awesome.
Love
Good singer, Lisa, fantastic singer.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely love them. Their latest album, Heavy Steady Go. I really dig that album. So
that. Oh, the new one's good, huh?
yeah, I really like it.
Definitely.
I just gave Black Lightning to Tony last week.
Yeah, it scored
Something
high.
like that.
It scored
Fucking
really high.
phenomenal.
She's a phenomenal vocalist.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's the MC5, it's Motown, it's
Yeah.
Revolution. Everything about that band I love.
Yeah.
It's
He's incredible.
I don't understand. I just don't understand how guys like them and guys like you aren't being pushed to the forefront, because you are making songs that are relevant at this time and would be great to hear on the radio. You know, I don't get it, man. I don't. Everybody wants to listen to bullshit nowadays.
Yeah, I'm delusional enough to believe that somewhere the Dictators are going to come through the cracks, and they're going to be Albert Bouchard leading the charge, at whatever age he is, and we're going to be like Kiss 1976. People are going to we're going to have Dictators diapers. It's going to be
Dictators coffins.
Oh shit.
No, but I love playing, like you said. I mean, we eat, breathe, and sleep rock and roll. It's something that it finds you, and I'm having fun making records, and the cream always rises to the crop. So as long as as long as we're breathing, let's keep doing what we're doing.
Absolutely.
And we will definitely look forward to the next album. If by chance the next album comes out next year, could we maybe entertain you guys to come on and talk about that one as well?
Of course.
Sure.
I would really appreciate it. We had a wonderful conversation with you guys tonight.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for stopping
you.
in and taking time out of your guys' busy schedules and whatnot. Bruce, you got anything to say for the evening?
Again, thank you, Andy, Keith, Albert. Tell Ross we said thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Dictators. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
man.
you.
Guys,
Have a
take care,
good
guys.
night.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.